Welcome to another episode of the Metal Queens podcast. I'm Steve Richards. Today's guest is a guitarist whose journey started at just 5 years old after experiencing the sonic explosion of Kiss legend Ace Frehley. And she hasn't put down that guitar since. From growing up around her father's music store in Maine to studying at Berklee College of Music to touring the country with a powerhouse rock band, opening for giants like Evanescence, Halestorm, Slash, Alice in Chains, and Breaking Benjamin, Bella Perron has already built an incredible resume before even turning 23. All of that before turning 23. She has played major festivals too, like Sonic Temple, Rocklahoma, Welcome to Rockville, and appeared at Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp alongside Nancy Wilson, Lita Ford, and Nita Strauss. Performed at the Grand Ole Opry, and now she's deep in the studio working on her upcoming solo EP. We'll talk about that coming up. But first, Bella, welcome to the Metal Queens podcast.
Thank you, Steve. So great to meet you, and thank you so much for having me on.
It's great to have you, and great to meet you too, Bella. So I want to go back to when you were 5. You grew up in Maine,
Yes.
and you heard Ace Frehley. Do you remember the exact moment when music just hit you like lightning?
You know, it's funny, I can't ever think of a time where it wasn't there. Growing up in a very musical household, my dad plays guitar. I was always in at least 4 bands, gigging almost every night, and had his guitar shop, and gosh, he had a studio in our basement where we were recording local bands. So even from before I started playing at 5, it was music all day, every day. Always those classic records playing around the house, like a lot of Kiss, a lot of Zeppelin, Sabbath, the Beatles. And I think it just from a young age, I remember just like that shock of like, it was odd of like never going without it, but I would just feel that excitement from the music and getting to share that in my family. If everyone had that same passion for music and for playing guitar, that definitely once I don't know, maybe 4 or so, it was when it was really hitting me, like watching these live videos of Kiss and seeing like the clothes and makeup and the like gorgeous guitars and then the smoking guitars and the lights and his stage presence and everything. Like from a young age, I'm like, that's what I want to do. And I remember it's like not even a specific moment, but I can remember that feeling, and I still get it all the time watching shows of like, it's so inspiring to see someone so connected with their instrument and being so expressive.
Yeah, it's definitely in your DNA from a very young age. Growing up around your dad's music store, it must have been like a rock and roll playground. What was that environment like for a young guitarist?
It was like the best environment to be in as a young guitarist and aspiring musician, where you would meet, especially coming from a small town, like just having that tight knit community of musicians and everyone's so kind and uplifting and players of all styles. I learned a lot about gear from always being in the shop and growing up working there at a young age. Gosh, it was always, I think by the time I was like 12 or so, my main role was doing the Ibanez ordering for the store because I was a huge Ibanez fan. So it's one of those wild full circle things of growing up, of getting to listen to my favorite music all the time, seeing like my favorite guitars on the wall, and getting to talk with players. It was, a good rock and roll playground's a great way to put it.
I know your influences are Randy Rhoads, Nuno Bettencourt, Joe Satriani, Slash, Joe Perry. What did each of those players teach you about guitar? Give me like one from each, maybe.
Oh, so Randy Rhoads, it definitely struck me how he combined all these classical ideas in his playing of in it, but it wasn't just hearing, something like D or Jive or Madman. It's like his phrasing in the Mr. Crowley solo, and later on as I'm learning theory and stuff, seeing how all of it's like you don't know whether it's intentional or coming from feel, but it's there, and it comes from this very like educated approach, where as a young player and still a huge inspiration, I'm like, I want to keep learning more and more and more about this instrument, and hearing the stories of how he would take lessons on every day off on the Aussie tour and never stop learning and also teaching. That's something that resonated with me as and still does, that it is a lifelong learning process, and learning to enjoy that too. But going, gosh, right down the line too. I mean, Nuno Betancourt is incorporating all of like the 90s like funk influence in that groove and just a rhythm there that's so precise. I've come blending that with like, how you can go down the rabbit hole of like I got into Van Halen first, but then reading and watching interviews of like Nuno being influenced by Eddie Van Halen and seeing those like lines connect, and then seeing like his interpretation and all of the art he's created from it. That was one of the things like I remember seeing Extreme live. I was like, yeah, I'm about middle school or so, and I'm just like, what am I watching right now? This is insane. um, but yeah, gosh, from there, Joe Satriani, Surfing with the Alien was the first instrumental record I ever heard, and I was, yeah, just touched of how, you're on this journey as a listener and not a single word's being said. And all of the melodies and the way everything's really composed, it's so intentional and everything it stays stuck in your head forever. That once I started writing, it still is when I'm writing, like, what would Satch do?
Yeah.
But yeah, those are definitely like my main influences for sure, and I'm still inspired by those players all the time.
Yeah, you mentioned Eddie Van Halen, and I'm reading Ozzy Osbourne's memoir now, and he talks about in the late 70s how so far ahead Van Halen was. And they opened for Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath was towards the end there, and they just
Mm.
upstaged them, and they were all watching like side stage Eddie play, and it just blew them away. It's a great story.
Oh my gosh, is that his new memoir? I
Yeah.
have like
Yeah.
the I Am Ozzy, but I've been meaning to read the new one.
Oh yeah, the last one he wrote, and yeah, you talked about the final concert in it too, and the planning for that. Yeah, no, it's great.
Oh,
It's
that's
a great
awesome.
story. Berklee College of Music. You studied there, prestigious Berklee College of Music. What was the biggest musical lesson you took away from that experience?
Oh wow. I think it was to always have an open mind to learning different styles, collaborating with different artists, and hearing all of these different, very Berkeley theory terms and all of that. First, I'm like, I'm a rock player. What do I do with this? But it opened my eyes to all of these become tools in your toolbox, but also paints on your palette that you can use.
Mm.
So I think my biggest thing I learned was the more and more I learn about this, for a while I was almost like as a getting into playing, I'm like, if I learn too much theory, I might not feel as inspired or like that mystique will be gone. And I'm like, no, this is unlocking more and more and making me better. So I think that's the biggest thing I learned from Berkeley. And just even once I left to start touring, it was like, okay, I want to just continue always reading up on books and watching all the podcasts and always practicing and learning something new.
You have opened for some massive artists. Mentioned this in the intro: Evanescence, Halestorm, Slash, Alice in Chains. Was there one tour moment that felt really surreal?
It's so many. And gosh, just it's still looking back, it's like, oh wow, that was it just it still doesn't feel real that happened. But the first one that comes to mind always was opening for Slash at the House of Blues in Boston. And the last time I was at that venue was going to see Slash on the previous tour for Living the Dream with my mom when I was
Mm.
16, I think. And it was just I'm so thankful my parents have been always so supportive. She let me, play hooky off school that day so we could go down to Boston and see the show. And it was just wild, 3 years later, 3 or 4 years later, going back and now we're opening and it's one of my absolute guitar heroes, and seeing him from side stage, it was one of those, just that whole tour is like every day was like just a pinch me moment.
So, what did being on the road for 4 years teach you about the reality of rock and roll life?
Oh man, the playing is the 1 hour of the day. The how you, yeah, gosh, I mean, at first I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm on Survivor right now. It's like I just go, 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 constantly travel and learning how to, I feel like, trust your gut on like what basic things of like, how do I keep myself from getting sick when I'm constantly going? How do I make sure I'm rested? But I think it's this really interesting mindset too when you're on a tour, especially with like, something like 4 or 5 bands and everyone's going through it of like, this is tiring, but we're doing what we love. And it's such a special connection. And always, picking people's brains of like, what gear are you using or how do you play that it's, almost kind of feels like a summer camp vibe of like all these musicians. And growing up very introverted, I was like, oh wow, now I'm in a space where I can be hitting it off with people and like, speaking up more and connecting with other players, which has been so, so special.
And now you're a tour pro and you're just about to embark on a little UK tour with Hayden Henderson.
Yes.
So, who is Hayden and how did you connect with her?
Hayden is actually a male like pop rock artist on Lava Records, and it's funny where I feel like the past couple of years I've just been on this mission, branching out, learning more, playing with new artists, different styles, tuning into my own sound as a solo artist. And it was funny where I had, it's always been like a goal touring UK and playing for like a variety of different artists. And it was literally my first day, I think, living in LA. He had actually reached out to me asking if I play for other artists, and I'm like, I certainly do. And he was like, we have a tour right around the corner. So it was kind of like immediately of like meeting everyone, touching base, learning the material, and I'm so excited for this run. It's definitely adding that rock element to the songs. I'm so stoked. It right up my alley, but also learning something new. It's kind of like pushing that envelope as an artist too, with working with other people. And it's a sound where it's like almost that Venn diagram of like something that's foreign to me, but there's enough of that common ground that I feel like the chemistry's there. It's going to be a great time and definitely continuing to grow as an artist and as a player.
You've been hard at work on your solo EP. You played your solo material live for the first time, a week or two ago. What was that like? What was the response to it?
It was incredible. It was literally less than a week ago, this past Monday, actually. I was a co-headline show or sharing the slot with Ginny Luke, who is an artist that I collaborate with frequently, who's an incredible vocalist and
Yeah.
violinist. And so we've been doing some co-writes together, both of us as solo artists, and this came up the opportunity to open for an artist called M in Madison, Wisconsin. And it was one of those things kind of, and it works out that it's like you don't have enough time to overthink it. Like it popped up and it's like, if we're doing this, we're doing it within the show's in 2 weeks. Like you gotta play it. And when I recorded all this stuff, like especially doing like Enlighten Live or Empress in Overdrive, there's so many layered guitar tracks on those songs and so many textures. And doing a show like that without tracks or playback, like I want that raw rock energy for my instrumentals and figure out how to arrange that and make it still sound full and cover all of that ground, was definitely a really, really cool experience in bringing those songs to life, especially in this kind of realm of feeling. I feel very inspired too by like artists like Jeff Beck, where their live records they take on this kind of new life. Of course, it's playing the all of the notes on the record, but you have different players kind of breathing air into it. So it was really, really cool where this has been like a bucket list thing to start playing my music live. And it was such a special experience, so much fun. And especially being as an instrumental artist, I was kind of like, what's the response going to be? It isn't like people singing the words back, but like, how is this going to connect? And I was just floored at all the people getting into it, especially opening for an artist that was much more on like the like dark pop side, showing up doing the guitar shred thing and seeing the audience really interact with it and be excited was magical. And I'm so excited to do more shows soon.
Yeah, you got a couple of singles out that are going to be on this EP that's coming out, Mirrors and Enlighten. The video for Enlighten, I could tell by the skyline in the background in Nashville, right? On a rooftop?
Yes, that was shot with a good friend, Dustin Luttrell, who's based in Nashville. And we were figuring out like, I was like, I want like a bold performance video of just going all out for that first single. And he was like, what about this parking garage where you can see the skyline in the Batman building? I'm like, this is gonna be perfect. And he's such an incredible artist to work with. Of like, I think we filmed the whole thing in maybe 2-3 hours, which was great because then like the vinyl outfit, it certainly was hot shooting it in like August. But it was so fun getting to do a video in Nashville. And we're with a insanely talented videographer down there.
So the solo EP, when can we expect it?
Ideally early summer. I am actually in the process of recording right now. Certainly Mirrors and Enlightened will be on it, and it's finishing it out, and it's something that I feel like going into it now, taking that role of like writer and producer. At first I was like, it's gonna be a straight shot, it's gonna be like, I can get this done. And it's like, oh wow, I'm taking these detours, but I'm learning so much in the process and enjoying that. So it's definitely been such like a wild experience figuring out what's this first EP gonna be collectively, instead of all these singles. So it's going to be out early summer, wrapping it up right now, and I am over the moon about this. It's a lot of fun. Definitely plenty more shredding to come.
Yeah, and you can shred. Well, and you also, beyond the guitar, Bella, you wrote the foreword for the book, Garage Sale Vinyl. How did that opportunity come about?
Yes, it was, that was such a cool experience getting to branch out into writing. I loved it. As well, it goes way back. The author, Chris Long, we've been friends for a long time. He actually was friends with my mom for the longest time. So once I started touring and releasing music, we had kind of reconnected. And now instead of a family friend, it's like, oh wow, we're both creatives, continuing to like starting to work together. And we had always just been in touch. And for a while, when he was like kind of getting in the groove of Garage Sale Vinyl and like doing later on the podcast, he had reached out to me to write like some excerpts of talking about some of my favorite records. And I can certainly yap when I'm very into something. So I'm like just sending him pages, and I'm like, he probably asked for like 2 sentences. So once we kind of got connecting on that, he had offered if I was interested in writing the foreword, and I'm like, this is something that I didn't see myself as something I could do, but I always loved reading and writing, and getting to be a part of something like that where I'm also a huge fan of vinyl was such a cool experience. And I'm so excited to continue working with him on some new stuff that's in the works as well.
Yeah, you also collaborated with shredder Diego Vargas on Phantom of the Opera. Check out that video, by the way. What was it like trading guitar fire with another virtuoso player?
It was so fun. It was a master class of, he'd be like, what if we harmonize this? And I'm like, I'm gonna just need a minute to get this down with the metronome. So much fun. And especially when I had come up, I was writing my own solo stuff, but I'm like, to work with another absolutely incredible guitar player and hear his take on how do we develop this melody, and how do we tastefully add in those faster licks and develop it and have it be that duet, and paying tribute to like the original. It was such a cool experience, and it was such a fun hang too, doing the video. It was a blast. Dustin Luttrell was there as well. It's the friendships that have come out of that project is super, super special.
You keep so busy, too. You were a counselor at Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp alongside Nancy Wilson, Lita Ford, Anita Strauss. What was it like being surrounded by those legends?
It was honestly one of like just the most moving experiences I've had. I feel like as women in this industry, it's always power forward, be tough, just go for it, kind of have this armor on. And when you're in a space of now kind of putting on that hat of being an educator in a way of like sharing it, well, at least what I can. I was working with a band and kind of directing. We'd pick our songs to learn and kind of coaching through that. But working in a camp where it's all either women who have toured or recorded in this industry, and the campers who are women of all ages, all skill levels, and getting to connect on that. It was like a really, really cool time of like, wow, this is like a really safe space, and everyone's uplifting each other because we've all known how we've had to sometimes just knuckle through it and be tough, and getting to just have that like deep breath and all together be like, this is a celebration of women in this field. And to have, like the guest artists come in like Lita Ford or Sheila E. or Nita Strauss, and
Yeah.
see them like pass on all of their insights. It's like, it was really, really cool and an honor to be a part of something like that. It was so special.
You have so many projects. What do you do when you're not doing music? What do you do to kick back and unwind?
Good question. I teach guitar lessons and I do remote session work and hang out with my musician friends. Pretty much, it's guitar all day, every day, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Kicking back, relaxing, reading, listening to vinyl. I, gosh, I used to do a lot of visual arts, and it's something I've been wanting to get back into. Of having that extra time and other creative outlet. I do a lot of kind of like makeup artistry stuff as like a more day to day like visual arts. But between that and a lot of like exercising, getting outside, traveling, exploring. But yeah, that's kind of the go-to, but it's certainly like 95% of the day is music.
All right, Bella, we're gonna wrap up with our lightning round of questions here. First thing that comes to mind: first guitar you ever owned.
Hello Kitty Squire Bullet Strat.
Mm. Favorite guitar solo of all time.
Ooh. The Aussie tribute Randy Rhoads Suicide Solution with the guitar
Mm.
solo extended in the middle.
Dream guitarist to jam with.
Joe Satriani.
Favorite riff to play live.
Enlightened, since I've played it live now.
Album that every guitarist should hear.
Blow by Blow, Jeff Beck.
Yeah, a great one. Most underrated guitar player ever.
Ty Tabor.
Studio or stage for you?
Both. How he holds his ground in a trio and sounds so full, and then his all of his work on the albums is just complete guitar wizardry.
Loud amps or perfect tone?
Push the tubes to get perfect tone.
Mm. Her new solo EP is coming out this summer, so look out for that. Check out the videos she's got up there, especially Phantom of the Opera 2. You got to check that out. Mirrors and Enlighten with the great Nashville skyline behind her. She's heading over to the UK with Hayden Henderson here shortly as well, and I'm sure there'll be more tour dates perhaps in the US this summer and
Yeah,
fall.
we actually just announced a June US tour. Will be out the whole month.
All right. So follow Bella on social as well, from early inspiration by Ace Frehley to touring the world, performing at legendary venues like the Grand Ole Opry, and now creating her own music with this new solo EP on the way this summer. Bella is proving the future of rock guitar is in very good hands.
Thank
Bella
you so
Perron,
much.
thank you so much for joining me here on the Metal Queens podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. It was such a blast chatting.
Thank you. And don't forget to subscribe to the Metal Queens podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Steve Richards. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you again next time.